Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to give you guys some tips on how to be better at Fall Guys across the board throughout each individual game. So this video might be a bit lengthy, so if you go down into the video description or you go down into the comment section where the pinned is, I will put timestamps to every single game so you can find the one that you want. This video is 8 hours in the making. It took me 8 hours to get footage for every single game. So if you would like to hit the like button, I would appreciate it. I do want to say though, 3 of the games are not in this video. There's no Jinxed, there's no Jump Showdown, there's no Royal Fumble, because ultimately these games just come down to 100% RNG and luck. There really isn't much you can do to kind of make the odds more in your favor to win. I myself have 21 wins currently, and I've been playing for about 50 hours, so I have quite a bit of experience in the game, and that's why I feel like I wanted to share that experience with other people. So let's get into it. First, we're going to start with Dizzy Heights. Now, Dizzy Heights is a game that people just try to rush off the start, when realistically you don't really need to. There's a lot of people who are going to qualify. You just have to stick to the floor and get through these first set of pads quite easily. It doesn't matter what direction they're going in. A lot of people will just jump and dive and throw themselves around, and that just essentially is slowing them down. So what you want to do is just step onto the pad and walk in the direction the pad is going, and then just step onto your nearest pad and keep doing that. If you do this and don't bother jumping or anything or diving, you will get out the other side within like the top 15 people every single time, at least in my experience anyway. I also want to say, once you get to the balls that are coming and being fired at you, and you've got to walk in and out of the square like blocks and sort of step into the alleyways while they come past, what I also do here, just to make sure I get pretty much a clean run, is when you pass those cannons, you run up like a little purple ramp. At the top of that ramp, there's a tiny little lip, and you can very easily get caught on this lip when you're just running normally, and then like 3 or 4 people will fly past you, hit you, knock you over, stuff like that. So whenever I'm going up that ramp, I just jump at the end of the ramp to get over that little lip, and then when you carry on through and you jump over all the platforms again, if you fall off, you've still got very much time to recover. It's not that difficult. But when you get to the end, obviously jump onto the turning platforms that are going in opposite directions while the balls are being fired down at you. Now what I tend to do is, if there's a ball right next to the platform I'm jumping onto, I just let it roll off and I don't jump on yet. I wait for it to be clear. When you jump onto it, you want to hold your diagonal stick in the opposite direction of wherever that pad is directing you to. This way you're going to run on the spot, and kind of then you can judge where the balls are coming. So if the ball's coming straight at you or to your direction that you're facing, you can just let go of the stick and you'll go round the opposite way, and then you can jump onto the next opposing force in terms of the momentum of the pad. And it really just is about holding that diagonal, and then if you need to, just let go of it so you can fly away from wherever the ball is coming, or continue running in that direction to make sure that the ball goes beyond you. And then once you get to the end, clean run to the end and you're sorted. Right, now let's talk about Seesaw. Probably the most hated game when the game came out, because people just don't understand the physics of a seesaw and screw it up for everybody. So usually once you get to a seesaw, it's at such an incline that you can't jump onto it, and everybody just has to wait around, and then selfish people jump on to try and get ahead, which then messes up the seesaw anyway. So it's very frustrating counting on other people. But what I have found with this game is that when you jump onto any kind of incline, your legs will hit the ground and your body will ragdoll a lot of the times. Now the ragdoll doesn't mean that it will fall over, but it will kind of shake on the spot and it will stop your momentum. But on these inclines, what that means is when you hit the floor of the incline, you can very easily fall backwards into a ragdoll. So what I do every single time, no matter what the incline is as I'm about to hit the seesaw, I dive. And what that does is that it keeps your head forward and you land on your chest, and then you pop back up into walking stance, which means then all you have to do is hold forward to get up the incline. And this can work on inclines that you wouldn't think it would work on. I have done some miraculous things with this dive. I've hit pretty much a straight up incline and ran up at like 1 mile an hour to get to the very top, and then jump to the next checkpoint. always, as soon as you're about to hit the seesaw, just dive, unless of course there's no one else around you and you can just do normal jumps. But if there's groups of people and people getting in the way, make sure you dive and land. And what this also does as well is if there is a group of people nearby you, it keeps your body stable. So often when you touch each other very slightly, everyone falls over, but once you hit that dive and you land, it keeps you very, very stable, which means you have more chance of not falling off. Right, onto DoorDash. Now, DoorDash is very much about RNG, about hitting the right doors. There's no indication, as far as I can tell, to know which doors are the fake doors. So what I like to do is I like to run in basically second or third position behind other people to allow them to try and jump through some doors. If they find the right one, I follow them. If they don't, it gives me more of a chance to hit a door that is fake. But I have come from far behind and to actually even win first place or get at least in the top 10, because what a lot of people do is like congruate in a door and then everyone just bouncing off each other, and it's very difficult to get through that door. But what I do in this situation is as I'm approaching that group, I jump up behind them and dive over the top of them, because even if you get caught up in the middle of that group, momentum should force you through the door instead of bouncing off them and going backwards. And if you do this with 2 or 3 people following you behind you, they will also jump behind you and potentially push your momentum even faster so that you completely clear the group and go flying ahead. But my rule of thumb for pretty much anything here, because you know, there's not just people that are obstacles, it's the doors that fall apart too. When you're going towards a set of doors, there's like a purple banner on the floor with arrows pointing to each and every door. As soon as I'm about to touch the very front of that purple banner, I jump up into the air and then dive through the door. And it seems to work more often than not. Now, this isn't going to be a, oh, I'm definitely going to win because of this. It just gives you more of a chance to clear obstacles if there's a lot of things in your way. If there's nothing in your way, you know, then you can just run and jump through the doors normally. You don't have to worry about diving. And of course, obviously, once you get to the very last door, you want to have this dive in your pocket, because you can very easily flip over, ragdoll, and even if you land down the bottom, you can't get up in time to carry on your momentum and run and win. So always dive, because as soon as you land, you got more chance of getting up and running on. Okay, Whirlygig. Whirlygig is one of my favorite races in this game, because at the very first time I played this, I was so excited about trying to beat that giant fan and always failed. And I'll tell you how to 9 times out of 10 get past that in just a second. But at the very start of the race, you can use those spinning poles to knock you forward. It's completely random. Sometimes you might get knocked all the way towards the moving ramp. Other times you could get knocked around and put all the way back at the start. It's up to you whether you want to do this. I think it's fun regardless. And even if you do lose time here, it's very easy to make it up with the skill that you will now learn about the very big fan. Just before that fan, there's a very small moving ramp platform and another fan. So what I like to do here is, as I'm hitting the top of the ramp, I dive. What this allows you to do is fall through the fan without losing momentum and ragdoll all over the place. Sometimes you do fall over and ragdoll, but then when you land on the other side, whether ragdolling or not, you get to the big fan. Now, on the left-hand side of this fan, there's like a little purple accent that runs around the edge of the platform, which then goes into that ramp. You want to get on that purple line and run straight up the ramp, because what's going to happen is that the fan on top will hit you with the blades, but because of the angle you're at, instead of knocking you flying across the map, it will hit you into the ground. It will punch you into the ramp. Now, you can still fly off to the other side, but 9 times out of 10 it will get you to ragdoll on the platform and fall off onto the respawning center platform. So always go all the way to the left as far as possible and get spiked into the ground by the fan blade. But if you do get knocked off and you land on the right hand side, or maybe you're not confident in going up that ramp whatsoever, on the right hand side or the left hand side, but more so the right hand side in case the fan knocks you over there, you can actually jump from that first platform to the center respawn platform on the middle. And if you time it right, you can jump and dive and land clean on the platform. But when you do this, make sure you hold your grab button, because sometimes you won't make it, but your little fall guy will grab on to the edge of the platform and pull himself up, and then you are on that center platform where you should be respawning, and then you can just make a straightforward run across and get to the end. Okay, let's talk about gate crash. Now, gate crash is one of those weird type of excitable races where people just kind of lose track and lose their mind and just get way too excited. So my philosophy here is something that I learned from Destiny 2 during one of the strikes. And basically you want to run at the obstacle that is going up or is up already. And obviously once you do this more often, you'll learn to judge the speed and timing. But a lot of the times people try to run at the ones that are down and it just comes up in front of them and stops them dead. So the ones that are coming up, you want to aim for that. Always jump and potentially dive if you wish to dive, because you never know how quick or untimed you might be and it'll come back up and whack you. But when you run towards those doors that are up or are going up, then as soon as you get to them, they're going to be going down, so you can either jump over them or you might even just have a straight run through because the door's all the way down. Now the big goop at the end is the same similar experience. You want to aim for the doors that are coming up, or at the very least the ones that are at their peak hitting the top. It's risky, but once you get to the goop, just as you're about to step onto it, when you start sliding, aim for the doors that are going up, because by the time you get down to the bottom, they would have reached their peak and started to come back down. And every single time when you do that, always jump and dive at the end just to keep your momentum and try to get that little bit of distance and a little bit of extra height to get over the door. If you've just about timed it wrong, you might just be able to pop yourself over. But if you're aiming for the doors that are coming up, you should pretty much all the time not be able to fail at this last little jump. Hit Parade. At the very start of Hit Parade, there are like logs that you can walk onto, and it gives you a little bit of a head start on the next obstacles, but it's not as detrimental as you think to jump off. Now I use the logs because I'm quite good at them, but you can literally just run and jump straight off and dive down to the lower platform and just carry on running up, and you will join the group of people who used the logs. You'll be a little bit behind them, but that's good because you don't want to be the first person running into those fans, because it will stop your momentum dead because you're the one pushing the fan. So if you're just in that group kind of running with them, you will keep your momentum while you're running through the fans. Now obviously you can't control other people are going to grab and bounce into you and stuff like that, but you don't want to be the first person pushing these fans. You want to be in the mix, keeping your momentum as much as possible. As you are going through these fans, you want to watch the doors that are going in and out to get to the next area, because once you kind of get to the very last fan on your side, if the doors are about to close, you want to continue running to the right or left and go through the little openings that come on the sides once those walls close over. If the doors are opening and you're there, just try and jump straight through the middle, but there are going to be a lot of people there which you'll bounce off and stuff, so it's very useful to notice that there's two openings on the right and the left before you get to the swinging balls. Now the swinging balls and the last area, you just want to stay to either the left or the right hand side. The balls, you'll only have to face like two of them more than likely, because the other ones won't reach you, but you know, just stop where you need to stop, don't try and risk it. And then when you get to the last goopy slide area, you want to stay on the left or right as close to the wall as possible, because there's a gap there where the sliding donuts will not reach, so you can just run in a straight line up the side. If you can try to take the middle and stuff if you want, but if you lose momentum or something hits you, then you're basically a pinball going around. So just stick to the sides and make your last final run. Now Slime Climb is an interesting one because there's a lot of shortcuts on this map, and unless you've done them over and over again, they can be quite difficult. So my only tip for this race is to just relax and be patient, because it's not like a limited amount of spaces to qualify. Well, there is, but by the time you get to the top, most of the people who need to qualify have probably died anyway, leaving you with space and time to just get to the end. So really just run as you normally would run without taking any shortcuts. Try not to get involved in a group of people, because you know you can bounce off and very easily fall off. Just take your time, relax and be patient. Now the timing for the second set of moving platforms is you want to jump onto the first platform as it's moving from right to left, but you want the second platform to be moving left to right, so that once that starts to go back, you can very easily jump onto it without it pushing you off. And then everything else is just kind of experience and learning how to get through the map without failing, as to say. But one last tip I would say is at the very end, if you're there and the swinging balls are nowhere near you and you're getting through, more than likely there'll be someone standing there, because if they grab you in that position, they can very easily force you into the goop and it will fly you off the edge of the map. So as you're approaching these people, jump and dive over them, because they will struggle to grab you, and then you can carry on and run on. But you know, this game is just built for people to troll, so it's probably going to happen. On to Fruit Chute. Now, Fruit Chute's a weird one because it is very much RNG and luck based, but there are a few things you can do to improve your chances of getting through the race. Now, what you can do if you wish to is wait for the first lot of fruit to come by before you jump onto the moving platform, because then that gives you less obstacles to get hit by and knock you off anyway, and you have to respawn. I just tend to just go straight for it because I just love the joy of avoiding all those fruit. But a lot of people jump onto the moving platform, and the problem here is like everything else, as soon as your feet touch something, you can very easily ragdoll. So what I try to do is just step off, because step off, you have less momentum traveling down than you would from a jump, and then you just keep your finger holding up and run up the platform. But what I would do here is go left or right as far as you can, because these little pink triangles that are on the right and left, they can help protect you against fruit, because the fruit can bounce off it and go in a different direction. It can slow the momentum of the fruit so that even if it does hit you, it doesn't knock you flying, and also allows you to kind of dodge a little bit easier if they are moving a bit slow. And those pink blockers can also send the fruit over your head because it bounces off it and goes over you. Avoid the middle at all costs, because you have so much going on anyway. You also don't need the cinnamon stick to jump over and screw up. So just stick to the left or right and just keep playing this game over and over again, and you'll kind of get used to judging where the fruit is going to come. But it is a lot of RNG, because a banana could come down and just bounce off in a weird direction and just take you out. So it's one of those ones where you can do things to improve your chances, but mostly RNG and luck is going to either help you win or help you lose. Okay, Jump Club. So Jump Club is, I wouldn't say it's RNG and luck. There are things you can do to make things a little bit easier, but if you're not controlling your camera very well, you may not see that the top purple bars and the bottom green bars are lining up, meaning that you can't jump over them and they will just whack you off. So what I like to do, or try to do, is after the pole has got up to a certain speed, I like to run under the first purple barrier that I can see, so that I can see where the green one is to be able to jump over it. And once I clear that green bar, I then run with it, I follow it, and what that does is it allows me to kind of judge the speed of how that green one is moving, and then I can make a decision on whether to get closer to it or keep running further and jump over it again. So my movement is basically jump over the green one, run under the purple bar so I could see where it is, and then run back on myself, jump over it, and then follow it, and just keep doing that over and over and over again. And more than likely other people are going to fail before you do. Okay, Block Party. So Block Party there isn't very many tips for, but there is one thing that definitely helps me out a lot on the jumping part of this game mode. So once you get to the part where you have 2 blocks and like a little strip across the floor which can knock you over, which everyone jumps over, a lot of people jump and bounce into people and hit into people, and everyone ragdolls and falls over, or even just a clean jump over it can still make you ragdoll. So what I do is I run towards it, jump over it, but while I'm jumping in midair, I turn and face the complete opposite way. And when I land, it seems to just keep me more stable, but it also puts me in a position to run back on myself to be able to line up for the next jump. So constantly I'm running forward, jumping, turning, and running back on myself, and that means I can go right or left very easily, and I can judge where people are in like milliseconds. Because when I just jump over it normally, I could fall over, and then I'm basically fighting against myself and fighting against time to catch up and be in the momentum again. So I like to do this jump and turn movement because it has really stopped me from ragdolling randomly on Block Party. Okay, on to Rollout, which isn't a particularly difficult game, but I see a lot of people exerting a lot of energy on this game when you don't need to. A lot of people run backwards and forwards going crazy, but all that's risking you doing is bouncing into people and flying off the map. So what I like to do is just use very, very small movements. I pick 2 platforms on either side, whichever side I spawn on, and I literally just step backwards and forwards between the 2 sections over and over and over again. Now obviously there's a risk of people running at you, but that's when you make a judgment call on what to do or where to go or where to move to. And as always, keep an eye out for people trying to grab you or pull you. But I just literally step backwards and forwards over and over again, and then you get certain blocks which are like basically treadmills where there's a whole bunch of free real estate for you to run on. I just use those just to keep myself busy, keep my thumbs busy, and just keep myself active. But I just tend to take as little movement as I can so that I don't bump into anybody, and whether knock them off or knock myself off, it's just easier just to take little steps here and there. That's just my gameplay, my game style. I feel like it works, and I thought I would pass it on to you. Okay, Egg Scramble, one of my favourite games in this entire game. Now when you start here, there's a big bunch of eggs in the middle, obviously. What I like to do is dive into the centre of them, because you'll avoid all the white eggs on the outside and you will land pretty much on top of the yellow eggs, the gold eggs, and then it's just a fight to try and get them out. So what you want to do here is just get ahead of everyone else in terms of eggs by about 5 eggs if possible. And then for me, it's just straight up defend the basket. Now, other people on your team hopefully will be competent and be able to throw more eggs in or steal from other places. But you want to focus on stopping the people from stealing your eggs. And it's actually relatively easy as well. If you get to where your basket is on the very, very high top possible plate that you can be on, while everyone's trying to jump out, you can body block them and hold on to them very, very easily. And you can get there just by standing on this very little corner that you can see me at and just holding the grab button. People will get up and you just hold on to them and the egg will slip out their hands. Sometimes the eggs will fly out the basket, but because you have the high ground, Anakin, you can just grab that egg, throw it back in very quickly. Other times as well, I've often got into the basket and I just dive at everyone that I can see just to be a nuisance, just to get in the way and just fly and bounce into people. It's fun, it's hilarious, and it really does put people off. But what you can also do is if you have a golden egg, pick it up and just face the back of the basket, because a lot of people don't realize you're holding the egg, and those golden eggs are worth a lot. But my main tactic is just to stand on the second step outside of your basket where the 2 hammers are and just block people while everyone else sorts out everything else. And this usually nets me probably about a 70% win rate depending on what the rest of my team are doing during that match. So give it a try, and obviously if there's like 7 people already defending, then just go and steal from someone else's basket. But a lot of the times I just feel that defending is more relying on me than relying on the rest of the team, because I know I can shut it down. Okay, let's talk Hoarders, and Hoarders is very much the same as Egg Scramble. You want to get the balls into your section and then defend those balls, and you can do this very easily by, once you get 1, 2, 3 balls, however many you feel you want to defend, get near the raised platform just outside of the lowered platform where the balls usually kind of sit, and then just stand in the middle, and then you'll see the enemies run in trying to get your balls, and then you can judge whether they're going to go left or right, and then you just meet them. And you can dive into the ball, but I just tend to jump into it and head it back over them, back to the lowered platform. And if you have multiple people doing this, it's almost impossible for teams to get the balls out of your area. So you just want to get a lead and then hold down as much as you can and defend the balls to push them back into your area when people are trying to get them out. And then just hopefully the rest of your team will be able to do something by attacking the other teams or pushing more balls into your area. So team tail tag is basically based on RNG because it's up to your teammates, but there are a few things you can do to give yourself a little bit of an advantage. When you're on the offense and you're looking to get a tail, just stand exactly where I'm standing in the game, and a lot of people just run around that middle square over and over again, and all you have to do is just pop out, steal the tag and run back in to where you were hiding. Very, very easy to grab a tail, but then you just have to keep it. And to play defense with a tail, what I like to do is always run up towards the spinning hammers that are in the 4 corners. and I just jump and let it hit me across the map. This helps because if anyone's on that side of the map chasing you with the hammer, if they also jump into the hammer, they're going to fly off in a different direction to you. And anyone who's down below often can't react quick enough when they see you land and bounce around, and then it's just up to you to be able to get back up to another hammer corner and do it again. That's pretty much all I do, and I've just got to rely on the rest of my team then to get some tails. So, Hoopsie Daisy, one of the most frustrating to play with teams who don't know what they're doing. Hoopsie Daisy is a game mode where you don't want to try to get every single ring possible, because a lot of the times when you're running towards a ring, someone else on another team is closer to it than you are, and they will beat you to it every single time. And it's also the case that your team are probably running towards those rings too, which means you're at a detriment then when you've got 2 or 3 people on your team going for one ring. But what you can do is hold down one specific area of the map and make sure there are as little teammates around you as possible while you're doing this. Now, if you watch where I am at the bottom of those kinds of moving ramps, this gives you free real estate on about 10 different rings if you're quick enough to spot them. Obviously at the top of the escalator, rings can spawn in the middle and gold rings can too, and then either side of the ramp there's 2 rings that spawn there, and at the bottom of the moving ramp there's 2 rings that spawn there, 1 on either side, and then just down in the area where the spinning circles are, there's 2 on each side that you can reach fairly easy from this position if no one else is nearby them or sees them. So you're averaging probably about 12-15 points a game ish if you're very lucky and a lot of rings spawn by you. And then if you've got other teammates doing this at other parts of the map, then they're also going to be building the score up by doing this. Chasing after every ring is just going to be detrimental to yourself and everyone else. The only ones that you should be running for and chancing are the gold ones, obviously, because they're worth more points. But just hold down an area, lock down an area, and just make sure you can get at least 3 or 4 around you that you can reach very easily. Rock and Roll, the most hated annoying game of mine, and I don't like it whatsoever. So first and foremost, what you want to do is just push the goddamn ball instead of always just running down and jumping down when nobody is near the end anyway. You want all the people as possible pushing it forward. So a lot of people will jump into the ball, which is a viable strat, but it's also inconsistent. So people could be jumping and push the ball a little bit, but then everyone ragdolls and no one's pushing the ball. So if everyone just sat down and just walked with the ball, kept their momentum, you would get the ball down the lane a lot quicker. Now what I try to do a lot of the times is, as we're getting over that first hump and you have to change the direction of the ball because otherwise it'll get stuck on the pole, I run ahead of the team and stand next to that pole. So as the ball's coming to me, I run into it and push it around the pole so that people don't get stuck on it. And then, you know, everyone can get into their positions, they can jump off and do whatever. If you get stuck into a corner, like they push your ball right up into the corner and you can't figure out how to get them away from it because you can't pull them off, you can't do anything like that. If you go behind the ball and jump up and down underneath it, it will lift the ball up over their heads, and that's realistically all you can do, is just try to get under it and jump and jump and jump and jump and try to force the ball over them, because there's no way you can get it around them, because apparently 6 people pushing a ball can't stop 2 people on an incline from pushing it back towards you, because the gravity and weight of this whole situation is just ridiculous. So get under the ball and just jump and try to push the ball over them. Okay, 4-ball. Probably the most frustrating game to rely on teammates for, because everybody who plays this game feels the need to chase every single ball and hit every single time that they can see the ball or it's in their vicinity. What this does is it causes the ball to bounce sporadically wherever it wants to go instead of the direction that you need it to go. And a lot of the times you will score an own goal, which is the main reason people lose on this map, is because teammates just don't know what they're doing. They just chase every ball and try to hit every single ball. So what you want to do is have 1 or 2 people in defense. If you have 3, 4, 5, 6 people in defense, what's going to happen is that once a ball comes flying over to you, one of those people are going to make it more difficult for everyone else to stop the ball, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And if someone mistimes a jump, all it's going to do is take the momentum of the ball off where all the other people trying to defend are running towards, and then the ball's just going to go in the net. So have 2 potentially maybe 3 people in defense, but have 1 on the goal, 2 on each side, and then the next person should be basically midfield where the balls spawn and drop down. Now just a little bit of tips about the ball. You can dive into them, but it seems to be very inconsistent with how much power you hit them with. So I only ever, unless we're winning by a lot, I just jump into the ball, because once you just jump forward into the ball or even straight up into the ball, it kind of just sets the momentum of the ball really quickly, and it just seems more consistent than a jump dive into the ball. If you get to the center of the map, you can very easily score off every single respawn of a ball just by jumping straight up. So if the ball's dropping down and you're on yellow and you're facing towards blue, you want to hit the ball more on your side rather than directly underneath the ball or closer to the blue, because that will send the ball either straight up or back towards your goal. So if you just stand on your side of the middle circle, and as you see the shadow of the ball, just time it right, you will learn the timing. Just literally jump straight up. Don't need to move forward, don't need to dive. That ball will bounce off your head and just go flying towards the other goal. The problem with this is like I said, everyone needs to hit every single ball. So even if you've scored a goal or 2 from the center spot straight away, you will still have your teammates trying to jump in your way to get the ball. It's incredibly frustrating. So I guess the tips here are try not to crowd the defense and try not to dive in the ball too much. You know, just stand next to it and jump into it. So, tail tag. Don't see this very often. It took me 6 hours just to get the gameplay you're seeing in the background because I just couldn't get the game to spawn. So, if you spawn with a tail, what I do all the time is I get straight to the middle, but not on top, underneath. And I just run around the pillar that's underneath the spinny thing at the top. I just run around that pillar and run into the pillar. And what that does is that you just constantly run in as small circles as possible, and people don't see you under there. And even if they do, and even if they take your tail, there's a lot of the times people will also be doing that. They will also be running around that same area because it's quite a hidden area. So all you have to do is stand where I'm standing in the game and just let that person keep running around and keep running around and keep running around. And like in the last 30 seconds, just pop out, steal the tail and run off. It's worked for me so many times. I have stood in this position for the entire game and took the tail on the last 2 seconds because the same guy's just running all the way around, because it is such a hidden spot for people to run. You can just jump out, bang, grab the tail and win. Now, Perfect Match isn't ideally a difficult game unless your memory isn't very good, but what I like to do is just literally have a pen and paper in front of me, and wherever I'm standing I just literally write the letters of what's around me. So if I'm standing on banana in my position, I just put B, and then next to it might be orange, so I just put O, above it might be apple, so I just put A, and I just write literally where the fruits are and then just run with it. It's as simple as that. It's actually really easy, and then you don't have to worry about people trying to trick you, because a lot of people jump to an incorrect pad so that when you jump to it they jump off onto the correct pad. So I just literally have a pen and paper and just write it down where they are, and if you deem that cheating, then you know, just follow the pack. So, Tiptoe, one of the most frustrating games because people just push and don't really think about what they are doing. Now, a lot of this path building obviously is straightforward and then either right or left, you know, like, so people, all you need to do is watch for the shaking tiles. The shaking tiles means that it's a fake tile, that you'll just fall straight through it. So let's say for instance you're on the center line, and not the line next to you on your right, but the one after that has a shaking tile. You're not going to go to the right more often than not because it's leading you towards a fake tile. Now, you may sometimes have to go right to that open path and then go up, but more than likely you won't have to. So you got to pay attention to the shaking tiles and kind of just judge and estimate where the path could go. And then there's obviously take some risks as well and just jump in and see if you do hit any of the tiles that are real. But what I will say is that looking for the shaking tiles is very useful for the last part of this map, because the last 2 tiles are always in a straight line because you need to build up momentum to jump. So while everyone is kind of just fighting around and all that and getting in each other's ways, just look to see where those shaking tiles are, and then, you know, you'll figure out, oh, okay, if I go that way, there's going to be a fake tile there, there's a fake tile there, which means I can't really go that way. And then you can kind of judge where the potential endings to the race are, and then it's just up to you whether you want to take the risk while everyone else is just battering each other and fighting. When it comes to that like fighting little group, what I try to do is either stay behind the group and let them all fight, or if I'm stuck in the middle of them, I grab onto someone so that if you do get knocked, you're pulling onto someone, which will stop you from flying off. Okay, Hex-A-Gone. This is all about luck. It really is. You could be the best player in the world, be 3 or 4 levels up above everyone, but you could just slip and fall straight down into the goop, because that's just how this game is designed. But I will say, I see a lot of people online and a lot of people in my games who jump to each pad. So they jump to one pad, they jump to the next pad, they jump to the next pad, and that's to slow down, you know, how fast those tiles are disappearing. But a lot of people just jump, and as soon as they hit the tile, they jump again. So it's like jump, 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 jump. But what you can do, and a lot of people don't realize this, is that these tiles stay there for a lot longer than you think. You can step on it and then jump. So instead of like jump, 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 it's jump, 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 and then that will make those tiles last longer. But I think the biggest tip that I can give on this Hex-A-Gone, and this works way more when there's a lot of people, so if you've got like 15, 16 people who are going to eat up all those levels of tiles, go straight to the bottom of spawn, just jump over the edge, go all the way to the very, very bottom, and then just calmly form a circle of pathways where you're deleting the whole center of the map, because all those people above you are going through all the tiles really, really quickly, and it's so busy and there's so much going on that more often than not they won't look down to the next path, and then they'll just fall straight down into the goop, leaving you with all the outside tiles to just jump on, as slow as I was saying, jump, jump, jump. And then it just comes down to luck, because some people might fall down right on top of you and knock you off, or they may fall down on another part of the map which you haven't cleared properly yet, and then they have a little bit more tiles to work with. But a lot of the times, this map for me, just go straight to the bottom, clear it out, and win, hopefully. And last but not least, we have Fall Mountain, the best game mode for a finishing game mode in this game. Now, when you start off in this race, as soon as you move forward, you go into like a little orange block. As you're getting off this block, you want to jump, because if you don't jump, you're going to slip, you're going to ragdoll, and then you've lost the match pretty much. So always jump off that first orange pad, land, and carry on running. Now, you can go left or right. It's just totally up to you, but I prefer right. I have one on the left, but I prefer right, because the hammers at the top swing in a much better momentum, where you have a better chance than on the left hand side, in my opinion, of getting through. And what you want to do is, when you run this over and over and over again, you want to keep an eye on where the balls are going, because even though the balls are orangey and they can bounce and go anywhere, more often than not they go into the same places as previous runs that you have done. So for instance, if you go to the right, the very first ball will come all the way down the right hand side and hit the fan on the right hand side. Sometimes it hits it at speed, which makes the fan go crazy. Sometimes it slows its momentum down and you can just run through that section where the ball isn't on the right hand side. Now what I tend to do here when I'm running up either the right or the left, I watch for where the balls are firing out of, because you can see it in the very distance, and then you can kind of see which kind of direction they're coming in, and whether they're coming to you or going to the opposite side. And if they're coming to you, then you can kind of judge where to go, left or right. But after I get past that first fan, I try everything in my power to get as far over to the side as possible. Same on the left hand side as well, because you want to be as close to the wall as possible once you get to those hammers, because on the right and the left, if you are against the wall, the first set of hammers won't hit you, because you can just run past them, because the hammers don't get to the edge of the map, except the right one can touch you slightly, but because of the way it's turning and the momentum of it and the direction it's swinging, you can very easily run through it without being touched. Now once you get past that first hammer, you have about 2 or 3 steps to jump up before you get to the next hammer. Now these steps are on an incline, so if you don't jump early enough, you will get stuck in like a vertical jumping animation because you can't get the momentum to jump up them. So you want to pre-jump as much as possible. So once you get through the hammer, you want to just jump and then jump and then jump again straight away. Like if you wait too long to jump, you're going to get stuck. So just jump as early as possible and just keep that momentum going in the jumps. Now the second hammer on both sides can be very easily avoided because again, if you stay as close to the outside walls, you can very easily walk through them. So the left hand side I'm pretty sure doesn't reach the edge whatsoever, so you can just position yourself to literally walk by it without it hitting you. On the right hand side, very much like I said before, it will tap you, but you can get through it because of the direction that the hammer is swinging. And then it comes down to that crown. So you want to keep an eye on where that crown is going. Where if you're running up that ramp and it's all the way down, that's going to go too high for you to reach. So just be careful before you jump. Just make sure that it's in range of your grab. And when you jump, hold the grab button and hopefully you will get it. What I will say though is because of latency, sometimes the crown is lower than you think, because I have seen people jump and on my screen be underneath the crown, but they will still win. So you just got to kind of learn the map. You know, as you get there, you will kind of learn at what rate and what height you can jump to grab onto that crown. And it also is, you can jump and grab onto it at a higher point than you think you can. So you think that maybe you need to jump and cling onto the side of it is incorrect. You can just touch your very fingers on the bottom of the crown and you will still win. So you know, you've just got to learn to judge that jump and get it perfect in that sweet spot. I've won this probably about 6 or 7 times and now I just know exactly when to jump. So the more you do it, the more often you will be able to just complete this race. And that is all the tips I have for the games. You know, I've played this game a lot. I've won, like I said, 21 times. So I feel like I've kind of learned these little things that help with each and every game mode. And I really hope that it helps some of you improve a little bit at certain game modes, or just have a little bit of a trick here or there, or a tip here or there to kind of get you through. I think the seesaw tips are very, very big. I think they help a lot. And I hope by watching this, it may help you get your first crown or more consistent wins. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. If it did, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on Twitter, link is in the video description, all of that whole YouTube stuff. Thank you for watching. I've been easynow. You guys have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.